Hi, in this video we're going to create that splashy paint effect that you can basically apply to any object. I will be using this 3D bike model that I found for free on Blender Kit, and my goal being to emit paint from the front tire in a circular motion, uh, just like the tire is projecting paint from its rotation. I can just open my Nexus panel and start by creating a Nexus emitter that by default will add into the scene this square emitter that emits in a straight line. I want to change that rectangle shape of emission into an object. So I can choose a custom object that will be my front tire. So I can select and add my front tire into my emitter. So now I am emitting particles in my front tire. So we can notice multiple things. First of all, I am emitting from the center of my wheel as well, and I want only the tire to emit particle. So I can start by duplicating my wheel and press tab, select with L the whole tire, Control I to invert it, and delete everything that's in the center. That will allow me to only keep the tire of my geometry. I can grab this new tire here and move it in a new collection that I will be calling sim. I can rename this emission shape. And also my emitter has been added into that collection. I want to move it into sim, just like that. Now I can, in my emitter, remove the front tire and select my emission shape instead. I can also hide my bike to only keep my emission shape. I don't need my bike model for now. So now I am emitting only from this tire. Great. You can notice that it does emit in quite a straight line, and that's because it's emitting from the polygon center, and I want to emit from polygon area, so it's more random and much better looking. I don't want to emit as a rate, but more as a shot of particles, so it only emits once. I'm going to emit into 2 frames, and I can crank up that count. I want to set like a lot of particles. So now I can see much better how it is emitting. And I can reduce also that starting speed. So now that it's much slower, I can see better how it's going. And the thing is, I don't want it to emit from all the geometry. I want to have specific spots where the paint is going to emit. Right now, it's all the geometry that's emitting, and is going to give a result that's just really flat, just like that. The way we're gonna do this is by using this vertex group option here. So we need to add random areas into the geometry inside a group that we're going to select, and tell Nexus we want to emit only from that group. So first thing first, let's create a group into data of vertex, and I can press tab, select everything, and add it to my group. I can assign it to my group. So now if I deselect and reselect my group, I can see that all my geometry is inside that group. Then I can go into the texture paint tab that will allow us to understand much better what's happening inside it. I will change this image editor by a geometry node editor. And inside my emission shape, I will add a geometry node modifier. Let's create a new geometry node setup. And we actually want to add the store name attribute node. This node allows us to add custom value into any attributes of our object, a group being an attribute. So if I click into the name, I can see my point group that is named grouped for now. If I select it, you can see that if I go into weight paint, everything turned black. And if I add into this value, into 1, I can control the value of my group, 0 being black and 1 being red. So red tells I'm fully into the group, and black tells I'm not into the group. In order to add some random stains of a group, I want to add a noise texture and plug it into the value. I can make it 4D, make it like smaller, reduce the roughness. So now it's starting to look more random. And I want to add a color ramp and actually make it more defined. I want to set it to constant. And now I can see much better how my group is being distributed into my tire. So I can reduce it pretty much like this, which will give me this result. And you can obviously use the W to modify the randomness of this noise. So now I want to get back into my layout, into my emitter, and I want to select my group, and I can start to emit from the areas that I've chosen. Let's keep going by adding a Nexus turbulence that will give me some start of motion into these particles. So I'm going to change the voice noise to a curl noise. Maybe, yeah, reduce the strength because really strong right now. Maybe also scale it up a little bit. I want to reduce the frequency as well because it's really fast right now. So now it's much better. As you can see, the noise is applied in every direction, but we don't need that much of Y turbulence. The Y-axis is not that important because we're going to look at it that way. So I can reduce that Y direction, like 0.5, for example. So now is going to be more flat into the Y-axis, and it looks much better. The next things I want to add is a Nexus rotates. That is what is going to give me that rotation along my wheel. So I can start by placing this rotation in the center of my wheel. And now you can see that it's going to apply a rotation to my movement. I can increase this rotation speed a little bit, and also increase the attraction, something like this. So now we have a more fast rotation. That's adding to my turbulence noise here. I can maybe just reduce the strength of my turbulence, the overall strength here. So I have more space for my rotation. To add more depth into my NX rotate, I can run into my fall off tab and add a new fall off that I will define as a sphere. And I can move this fall off right in the center of my tire, make it much bigger, maybe make it as the orange circle is fitting the inside of my tire. So now what's going to happen is that rotation is going to apply around my tire, but not that much outside of this fall off. So I have mainly rotation inside my fall off, and outside my tire, it's mostly turbulent. I can now add a Nexus collider, and to add my collider, I need to re-enable my bike, my model, because I want to select my front tire as a collider. I want to fully remove the bounce, add a little bit of friction, and I want to do also the same for the fork and the frame, because my particles are going to collide with that elements of my animation. You can see that right now it's passed through it, and I want it to collide with my model. I don't need to add all of my bike elements, but those three parts of my model are really important to add into the collision, because we're going to see into the camera that it's going to collide into it. So I also want to add the fork, and I want to add the frame, right? I will remove the bounce for both of them. Now if I run my simulation, I have a nice collision happening. I can hide my fall off and rotate, so I can see my viewport better. The simulation is now starting to look really great, and my particles are flowing in a very nice way. But now I want to add some liquid properties into it, add this paint viscosity that I want to have. I want to add a Nexus fluid, and I'm going to stay in PBD because this PBD mod is really great for those non-realistic simulations that are really dynamic. And as you can see, this is starting to break everything up. To fix that, we will need to actually go into our emitter and reduce the radius of our particles because they are too big and colliding in a bad way for now. So I need to decrease this a lot. I'm going to set 0.005. And now if I play my simulation, I have something that's much, much better. Into those fluid properties, I want to change a few things. I want to increase that smoothing radius a little bit to win back some cohesion between my global simulation. I want to add much more viscosity because I want to be more like paint liquid. Add some bit of vorticity. This vorticity will allow us to have this nice curling fluid. I will leave attraction as it is, same for repulsion, and I can increase that external pressure that will give me this nice splashy results and a nice surface tension. The external pressure is much more like surface tension, actually. So now I have something that looks a lot like liquid and something nicely viscous like a paint. Now I can add some color into my simulation thanks to a Nexus color node, which will be by default a gradient parameter with this blue to white gradient set by speed. So the faster my particle is, the whiter it's going to be, and this slower it's going to be, the bluer it's going to be. I actually want to set my layer type to noise, so I can have this noise setup of texture. But as you can see, it is changing during time. Particles that are emitted white became black, and this changed with the position of my particle. So I want to apply that change on birth only. So now my particles are emitted by that noise, and then they keep this color and blend with each other inside the simulation, make it look really nice. By default, I have this black to white grayscale, and I want to run to the gradients preset and choose this cyberpunk, for example. This is the one I've chosen. And now I have this nice gradient of purple, blue to white. You can change stainings into this noise. I want maybe increase the scale, for example, a little bit. So now I have more defined areas and it looks really nice. So right now we only have particles, right? And we want a real liquid surface. The way we do that is by adding a Nexus mesher. Into the layer, I want to add here my emitter, which is my Nexus emitter, basically. And this is building the surface of my liquid. I can change the surface type to Zubrinson. That makes it much more defined. This settings really depends about your simulation. Maybe you want it to be by spheres, and maybe you want a bigger radius and a smaller radius. It really depends on your simulation. Be aware that the more you reduce those values, the more defined it's going to be. But if I reduce way too much, I'm going to lose some kind of surface. And if I reduce this polygon size a lot, this is going to give me those really sharp edges, and it's going to take a lot of geometry. So the right balance for me is actually at a size of 0.15, and I set the radius of 0.1, which gives me this nice thin liquid. You can increase it if you like, but it looks a little bit less defined. The more you reduce this value, the more liquid surface you lose. I can now hide my particles. Into my emitter, I can hide show particles. So now I have this meshing liquid surface. Inside my measure, I can go into export tag, and I have this transfer color that I have to check if I want to find the color of my particle right onto my liquid. So now, thanks to that transfer color, I can take it back into the material. So if I jump into my shader editor, I can add a base material on this mesher. You can see that the polygon mesh is under my Nexus mesher into my outliner. And then if I run into his data, I can see the color attribute that actually doesn't have a capital C, and it's kind of unique for a color attribute. Usually you have a capital C. So I can grab my attribute node, and I can write color. If I drag this color into the base color and then enable some lighting and some render, you can see that I have this white mesh that I can colorize with the Nexus color I have set earlier. Now with some scene setup, I added a camera, some basic background with an orange lighting that's allowing me to have this nice warm look that fits my red color of my bike pretty well. I have a main light that is highlighting my front wheel, some fill light that is getting back some information on my bike, and a backlight that is giving me this nice highlighting look. With my painting material, nothing too fancy, I actually just gave my material the attribute color as I just did, and then added some subsurface scattering that's giving me some transparency for my paint, and then I added some coating that's giving me that nice reflection on the surface. That's it for this tutorial. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you guys for watching, and please subscribe to the channel if you want to support me and to see the next tutorial I will release on Blender and Nexus. Thank you guys for watching, and stay tuned.